Alrighty.
Should I just take my shirt off?
Yeah, we just whip that bad boy off. That's the content I need. Za was in here talking about freeing the nipple, and so we're gonna start with when in doubt, nips out. Checking angles. See, I do these Noah's Ark style now, where I usually shoot 2 guests at once. Per visit.
What are me and Za gonna have to do later?
I dismissed her. She better not show back up. That'll mess up my whole mojo. Here we go.
Should I do glasses or not?
No, glasses are fine. Very studious.
I don't know.
No, yeah, you're in a glasses era right now, which is great. I love that for you.
SM7B. This isn't it.
Yeah, these are SM7Bs.
I thought I knew what I was looking at.
Yeah,
For some reason I read it.
This is the same one I've used on like everything, and then that's Lucius's there. Oh, whoa, whoa, oh. See, here's the thing too. I really am not out of things to discuss because Za was so prepared. You know what I mean?
Well, we aren't started yet, are we?
No.
Okay, I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I've got hot takes if you.
Okay.
But
guys, welcome back to Jacob V Weekly. As always, we want to invite you to check out Caddyshack of Hamel, Illinois, caddyshackil.org on the internet. Save a life or 9. You know what I was actually thinking about starting with you, just for fun, just to go in cold, and you just mentioned it?
Solving mysteries at Denny's?
Better. Let's just throw out some fresh hot takes. Can we open with... We can even improvise some hot takes. So I don't need you to... We're not starting a debate team. I don't need you to die on this hill. It could just be something that you know people believe, even if it's not your hard-earned belief. However...
Man, this is one of those things where I need a little bit of...
Okay, so you need an example? Lucius?
Hot take. Scarlett Johansson ruined Ghost in the Shell. It has nothing to do with her being white. It has everything to do with corrupting the philosophical content of that movie. And, sorry, not...
It's for the camera. It's not for the
camera,
sound.
sorry.
The sound sounds great. I'm just going to lock this up. Nestled in here. All right.
It's not Scarlett Johansson's fault. I think it is the Chinese production company that took on a Japanese story they didn't really care about whatsoever. And everything that made the original anime great, let's just gut it. Sorry, that was just the first thing that came to mind.
What do you know about Death Stranding?
Very little.
Me too. I didn't play it because it's kind of just a movie, which apparently is what that guy wants to do now. Is it the same guy that did Metal Gear Solid?
I believe it is. Kojima, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, he wants to make movies now, which sounds like a nightmare to me. I'm going to open these chips that Jeff brought right into the mic. Did your mother make these salsas?
Yes.
Oh, I love...
Everything except the chips is homegrown.
Really? You grew this at home?
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure?
Unless she snuck something in.
Wouldn't that be fun if you saw her out back with a Straubs bag? Mom, where did you get a Straubs? In Franklin County? You guys get all the tornado warnings.
Yeah, and we live right on top of a hill. It gets wild. It gets very windy. Good?
Oh, it's so lovely. And fresh. Okay, so and then what's in this one?
That one's without cucumber. That's just plain, pretty much like pico de gallo salsa.
But all homegrown.
Yep.
Privately, see, this is exactly...
That's what I do.
Za and I were talking about the preparations that you can do to be more sustainable in your life. And growing your own produce is one of my favorite ways. I love when people are doing it. I don't do it.
It's a tough thing. Because sometimes, some years, you just try to do it, and then it's like raccoons break into your shit and steal everything, and you get nothing. Or if you try to do it in town, sometimes people steal your shit and you get nothing. Because that happened in Kirkwood.
What were you growing?
Tomatoes. Somebody just like...
Somebody came out there.
Pretty sure.
On your property.
Well, because used to live right next to a church parking lot where, like, very easy access. People couldn't even see our house a lot of times. They just, like, I don't know, if they thought it was a neighborhood garden or something.
That would be a great site for a neighborhood garden.
Yeah. I'm sweating like crazy, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I carried a cooler in.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I'm so glad you did. I had no idea your mother made these lovingly from produce she grew herself. I'm assuming you helped.
I did.
And
that watermelon is pretty much my dad's doing.
So is he working on making them longer? He likes them long?
I don't think he had any say in that, other than buying the seed for the watermelon that does that. So
hot takes. Okay. I was making ice cream for a while. I'd say professionally. And I learned a lot about the overall mechanism of producing, storing, distributing, selling ice cream in a way that I enjoy. I love figuring out systems and things like that. And today I'm at the Quick Trip on the way here. And on the exit that I like to use, which is separate from the entrance I like to use. You ever meet an old person that insists on using a different exit than the entrance? I had a grandmother of a child at a summer camp a couple years ago that was very interesting to me. I always let her, of course. I was like, please, right this way, madam. But I don't know why she insisted. And so I try that sometimes. And why did I say that?
I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Motherfucker,
you started
Jeff.
out with hot takes, and then you went to ice cream.
Oh, yes. I'm walking out of the Quick Trip today, and I'm walking past the ice cream freezer, which is by the exit I like to use at the Quick Trip today. And in there, as I've seen, you can get it at the hardware store sometimes, little yellow cartons of Ted Drew's frozen custard. Here's my problem with that. Even if they freeze it right away and store it in optimal conditions the entire lifespan of the product, which you know often doesn't happen, even if it's only a couple months old, it's not really frozen custard. Frozen custard, when you have it in a store, is supposed to have been whipped up in the last 4 hours.
Is that like part of the... You know, like how...
That's part of what makes it what it is.
Yeah, like
the
tradition has to be...
Yeah, the tradition of frozen custard is that it's similar to soft serve in that it's not something that's hard frozen and stored and then opened and then temped and then scooped. You know what I mean? It's similar to that in that, like, you know, that's why you see the guy at Ted Drew's, the big guy in the back, whose job it is to catch all the custard cascading out of the machine. It usually has 2 things on it. Because that's just the fresh, I don't want to say raw custard, but that's the fresh,
raw custard,
straight custard that then everything else gets added into, right? So if even really, for real, dead ass, even if that frozen custard in the freezer at the Quick Trip on Kings Highway, which is treacherous this time of day, even if that was delivered there by Ted Drew's this morning, it's not really frozen custard.
Is it any good though?
Oh, it's fine. And
I can't say I've only had Ted Drew's from Ted Drew's.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should do that tonight. Yes, but that's the thing is the custard that you have served to you at a frozen custard establishment is typically less than 4 hours old.
I see.
And it's like the thing with Guinness that people always talk about, like if you do the traditional method of whatever, or I don't like the product anyway in that case. So You notice there's still no Guinness NA.
North American Guinness? Is that what you?
No,
not
non-alcoholic.
applicable.
No, non-alcoholic.
I first thought North American, then
Jeff,
not applicable.
Did you know that I'm California sober since COVID for the troops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know it was for the troops or what California sober means.
That means I don't drink alcohol.
Okay.
But I do enjoy the herbs and fruits of Mother Nature.
I see.
Such as this beautiful salsa your mother made me. What an angel from heaven.
It's 40% alcohol. Oh.
The salsa? That's why it's so good.
I knocked you off your wagon.
Cucumber is so good for hydration, too. You know what I mean? When I'm sucking down Diet Cokes. Oh, okay. All right. Scarlett Johansson, Ted Drew's.
Can we just talk about how I haven't been through all of your podcasts.
No.
But I feel like I'm a very weird guest.
Yeah.
Like all of your guests are pretty weird. Like, some colorful characters.
I know some. Yeah. You know what, Jeff? That is such a polite way to put it. I know people with PhDs that are not as eloquent as you.
My eloquence comes and goes. I have my times. And then sometimes I just shut down and my brain doesn't work. But
right now, it's working because we're eating cucumbers.
But, I feel like a lot of your guests are very sociable people, and you brought me from 4 years of having ghosted most of my friends, and it's probably the first time they're hearing my voice in quite a while.
Well, I pray to God that those people listen to this. If any of those people tune in just to confirm that is indeed you and that you are indeed among us on this plane, then that would be a real boost for me.
Well,
have you thought about it that way? Have you thought about you? I just told you to be here. You really didn't protest.
Well, okay, that's the weird thing is I was more nervous, hey, come out, hang out in a room with 6 other people just for fun or something. But then it's no, we're going to record our conversation. And that's a weird thing that having our conversation recorded due to my previous social troubles makes things easier.
Yeah. No.
Because it's
it's a goal.
You're not, we're not going to come back later and you're going to say another thing happened. It's no, I can pull up the recording and there's a lot of pointing going on right now.
That's exactly what they want. They want us to welcome in the police state so we feel safe. It's like we're wearing a body cam, but pointed inward. Selfie cam. Body self. We're working on the term still. We're in beta. We're in beta of this right now. It's kind of, it's a combination of Wayne's World and The Truman Show for me. My content journey. I find that when I have guests that have a very specific thing to promote or to talk about or whatever, it's harder because they're not prepared to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
And so the more people overthink it and over prepare, the harder those conversations are. Whereas, I don't know that if we weren't doing this, that it would have even been that easy to convince you to make the journey. You know what I mean? Because it was do you just would have come over? We're why? What are we going to do? Is somebody going to show up?
Yeah.
What's going to happen there? What are we going to watch? Are you going to make me watch season 5 of Supernatural? Please don't put on.
I've already seen it. I could watch it. I've watched it again 3 times.
I'm plowing through. I think I'm up to 8 now. I just have to know what happens to Castiel.
Cass is the man. I love Cass. That's one of my favorite moments in television
Instagram
history is when he just blows through all the demon signs and Dean's just what are you? I'm an angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
Most badass.
Yeah. Because when they don't even know there are angels yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what, because I was just getting sick of the arc of, can you explain why we love that show? Because the past 3 people I've talked to about it don't know what I'm talking about.
It's kind of hard to explain. I feel like I haven't seen this show hardly at all, but I feel like before Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I used to watch it every morning.
I didn't watch it like that, but it had a good.
It was on FX in the mornings before I went to school.
Well, it had a good amount of humor to it, didn't it? Like, it's a campy thing, and that's part of what Supernatural does so well. Is like not only these long plot lines, but it's like the consistently funny like jokes and shit. Things you're surprised
when you develop character relationships over a long period of time like that, you have the privilege of weaving humor throughout the more serious components that maybe define the show more, or the film, or whatever. And also, like, did you watch Charmed?
No.
Woo! I love Charmed. The only time I ever ended up watching Friends is if I was first watching Charmed, and then Friends was all that was on afterwards. What's the news, Lucius? Did something just come out about Matthew Perry? Because I keep seeing memes about Matthew Perry. Speaking of Friends,
not that I'm aware of in this moment, but I'm going to look it up.
Oh, thank you. That I think I saw something like he paid $50,000 for 20 vials of ketamine, which doesn't sound like a good ratio. Even if ketamine was made out of gold. I guess
I would have no idea.
You see what I mean? That's why I don't mess with that shit. It's all from Satan. Sorry, I can't. When I have fresh produce.
There's probably like 5 different kinds of tomatoes in there.
Oh my.
Something like that. Maybe more.
It's a festival of nations. So, did you ever see Dogma?
Once, quite a long time ago.
Because a lot of the Catholic dogma, I guess, that's referenced in that movie is kind of seems to be the base for season 5 of Supernatural. So maybe they didn't really consort with the Bible at all. Maybe they just watched Dogma with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Janine Garofalo.
Maybe. I don't recall Dogma nearly well enough to...
Oh, God, it's a really masterpiece. I found it on YouTube the other day. It's not out anywhere.
I have cried more in the last 2 days from watching a Chinese movie called Better Days than I have in the last, year prior. Fantastic movie.
Better Days. What's that about?
It's about... the movie starts out with, a very blunt, anti-bullying message, but it is, one of the most brutal anti-bullying / romance movies I've ever seen. Okay,
so it's like John Wick. Can you
I don't know.
Can you do me a favor? Can you compare it to John Wick?
How would it compare to John Wick?
Would you say it's better or worse than John Wick?
I think it's a better movie. Well,
do you think artistically speaking?
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to just have tears streaming down my cheeks for 2 hours of 2 hour and 15-minute movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of a special thing. John Wick is great. I loved it, but
it didn't make you weep openly?
No.
Okay. All right.
Are we going back to Matthew Perry?
Matthew Perry.
There are 5 people that are being charged with...
that's what's recent.
Yeah, that's what everything's been talking about.
Yeah, they're not called... that's what's recent. That stuff takes a long time. And then that's why details of the circumstances are coming out. So it sounds like it's the people he would have bought the ketamine from.
Yeah, it's all text messages are coming out. Somebody said, I wonder how much this moron will pay. When speaking about Matthew Perry.
Who's now deceased?
Who is now deceased because of ketamine.
Now,
and a subsequent drowning.
But really it was the drowning. He was so fucked up on ketamine that he drowned.
Well, it's
Would he have lived if he was not in the hot tub?
So on this article from CNN, it says he died from acute effects of ketamine. These are in quotes. Acute effects of ketamine and subsequent drowning, which is not in quotes, which is interesting.
Right, and that's always fishy to me.
Yeah, according to an autopsy report.
So, and they're following up. You said they charged like 5 people?
Yeah. Okay, I've never seen this word before. Cadre. Cadre.
It's a collective group.
Okay, a cadre of people linked to Matthew Perry, including doctors and North Hollywood's alleged, quote, ketamine queen, took advantage of his vulnerability as a recovering addict.
I could say duo, trio, what is it, quartet, quintet. I could just refer to any group, though, of more than 3 people as a cadre.
Cadre.
And that usually means they are going through an experience together. They're not necessarily traveling physically all together. So a cadre of people could be people you're going through your program with at school.
Like a cohort?
Yeah, in this case, it's people that you're traveling through the criminal justice system with for the same reason at the same time.
Yes.
Cadre.
I did not know that word.
And so what about the cadre of ketamine dealing Neanderthals?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just I haven't read through all of it, but it's basically they're in court sort of detangling this whole mess of like who did what. Like the doctor, there's like doctors involved. There's the ketamine queen.
The ketamine queen
who sold vials of ketamine to Perry's assistant.
That is a great name.
Yeah. And taught the assistant how to administer the drugs. So that's interesting.
The ketamine queen.
The ketamine queen. I don't even know if that...
What? You don't even know what?
To see who the name of the ketamine queen is, because they didn't necessarily say
That's her birth name.
Would that be
who is this ketamine queen?
I am the third
Destined
generation.
to become.
I am the third generation of ketamine dealers in the greater...
Yeah, there's 2 doctors who work to supply Perry with ketamine.
It would be funny if one of the doctors was the ketamine queen.
Yeah, that would be funny. And then one of those doctors taught Matthew Perry's assistant how to do it.
Which is not legal.
And I think that's maybe she administered the thing, because there's another quote about like, I want a big one this time from Matthew Perry. Hit me with the big stuff. Oh, here it is. Jasveen Sangha.
I'm sure that's how you say that.
I'm sure it is.
That sounded perfect.
Whom authorities call the ketamine queen.
Oh.
So, love a notorious lady.
Damn.
That reminds me of that sheriff that does that press conference.
Oh, sorry.
It's,
It's of North Hollywood. We have to be specific.
The ketamine queen of just North Hollywood. West
North
Hollywood, there's a different queen. It's like
Different
Oz.
queen.
I'm Glenda the Good Witch.
Yeah.
There's a Wicked Witch of the East and a Wicked Witch of the West. We're divided.
So the ketamine queen ran what amounted to, quote, a drug-selling emporium in her home.
A drug emporium?
Drug emporium.
I remember Drug Emporium. Was that a
This
chain,
is really
or was that a
interesting.
Kirkwood thing?
This is really interesting. Well, it's about the vulnerability of, because he had drug problems forever, and it was like just last fall where he fell victim again to addiction. And so it's like all of these like quote unquote caretakers around Perry, I guess they're trying to get justice on their poor actions that led to his death. That's kind of what it feels like.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Did we figure out if ketamine is lethal on its own?
I'm sure. If you take enough, I would think.
Yeah, if I shove enough dry cannabis in my esophagus, I'll suffocate. But like, ketamine's a horse tranquilizer. It's got to be lethal on its own, right?
I would think. I've never done it. I've never even. That's one of those things I've never even been
fatal
offered.
ketamine
any.
overdose is uncommon.
No, I have been offered so few drugs all of the drugs that the DARE program prepared me for, so few of them have been offered to me for free, so infrequently, it's not even worth mentioning, actually.
So fatal ketamine overdose is uncommon, but it can occur. It's taking excessive doses of ketamine or mixing it with other drugs that have toxic events that include fatal respiratory depression.
Yeah, like if he took like a Xanax and then did a big old dose of ketamine, like something like that.
Yeah,
that would be bad. He probably wasn't.
You'd have to take
Xanax.
10 times the standard dose.
But that's what they said happened to Michael Jackson. Not with ketamine.
Yeah, but he took 10 times that.
He took like a fucking shit ton of whatever.
Well, but then they went after the doctor. Well, the doctor was responsible.
Didn't he get off?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was he found guilty?
We're gonna need backup fact checkers if we keep going on this road.
I mean,
I'm asking too many questions. Jeffrey?
you know, the thing is with drugs, it's like once you're already on them, it's like, can you remember how much you took? And then it's like, I feel like it's not that hard to take 10 times. I don't know.
Well, here's the situation with Michael Jackson. Just to
You can
dial
get-
the time back for a little bit, it was propofol.
Yeah.
Was a like a
Sleep aid thing.
like
wasn't
a that's what he was using it for, but it was also like a drug he used for like extreme pain management, like in the context of say surgery in a hospital setting. And then he woke up and it was on the bed next to him and he drank it, which is not usually how you do it.
Yeah.
It's usually diluted and injected. So in doing so, would have ingested far more than necessary or safe of a drug that should not have been left out like that anyway.
And this was Michael Jackson that you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but ketamine, I mean, that's one of those gray area things. It's like, you know what I mean, like on its own.
This is such a great area because Matthew Perry literally was like, give me a big one this time
But of ketamine.
of ketamine.
What do you think about that?
I thought we were having a staring contest
Oh.
because, like, I was waiting for you to blink because I think I was gonna win there.
Oh yeah, I
If
would
we were
have.
doing
I
that.
would have yielded.
I yield.
I would yield in that case.
I think he had the best comedic timing of anybody on Friends. So
Yeah, I
That's
definitely
kind of
preferred him to Joey,
yeah,
and yeah, he was definitely the funniest out of that group to me.
I actually thought David Schwimmer had moments. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
not consistently funny, but he had
Right.
a few moments that were like some of the funniest moments.
Yeah,
of
I
Friends.
loved him as Robert Kardashian in the People versus O.J. Simpson.
that was interesting.
That was
Seeing him-
cold-blooded.
Like he's kind of one of those actors, though. I just always see too much of Ross. Like,
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, why is Ross with O.J. Simpson? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Oh, did you conjure up a hot take?
no. Oh man,
I had a drum roll beating in my spirit.
man, I had some hot takes listening to Zob.
Okay.
I couldn't chime in.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they were now.
Man, we were all over the map. I mean, we could cover anything
Yeah.
from, you know, gender differences to global politics to, I mean, you know, have you ever been bitten by a snake? Literally.
Not a serious snake, I will say. Like,
You got gummed on by a garden snake?
yeah, kind of. Like,
He gummed
very
you up real good?
small, non-fanged snakes I have been bitten by.
Because they say
But no.
rattlesnake venom will make your spirit very sick.
I am frightened of rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Like, they will fuck
Can I
you
say
up.
something? Can I say something?
Yes.
That's okay. That's
I
normal.
mean, yeah, I mean,
That's a normal
I'm not
reaction.
ashamed of that.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, a lot of Missouri
What-
snakes won't fuck you up like a rattlesnake.
Did you
will.
see RFK handling that rattlesnake in his yard? Mm-mm. You don't spend much time online?
I do. It's just like I'm always
Targeted.
watching K-pop videos or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm
this-
very like if you open up my Instagram, it's like half of it is like K-pop idols, and then the other half of it is like covert narcissism abuse, like support.
Yeah, the self-help. Yeah. Okay. So, can you talk to me about the enduring or emerging power of K-pop and what it has to offer the audience?
Okay. Well, part of why I like the K-pop model, and by that, like, they certainly do a lot of copying of our style in a way, but like I feel like K-pop took the boy band girl group thing of like the NSYNC Spice Girl days, and they just never left. They just kept doing their group like oriented music, whereas the American kind of thing went more towards solo artists. And the thing about pop music in general to me is I think it is much more of a team group effort than most of your solo artists want you to know. And like, when a group, like, I don't think Beyonce, with her 72 different writers credited on Lemonade, I think it's something like that, is like hogging all the spotlight for herself pretty much. And like a K-pop group of 9 tightly choreographed people who are saying this is a group thing, we don't do it without one another, even though they're not maybe shining a light on the writers behind the scenes, it's still a more honest portrayal of what is happening within the pop industry, I think.
That's brilliant. What do you make of the... It seems... what do you...
Oh, wait, I've got another hot take.
Oh, good.
Because that's what Lemonade reminded me. What if...
Careful,
what
Jeffrey. Careful.
What if Jay-Z never actually cheated on Beyonce whatsoever? This is just a made-up story to sell albums. Because Jay-Z is, like, to me, first and foremost now, he's not really so much a musician as, like, a business mogul, it seems.
Well, and it also seems like he's semi-retired.
Yeah, and I just can picture that story of, like, him... It made so much money.
Yeah, he's not a smooth guy, and he went from being like really impoverished to being really rich, and so he didn't have like a decade to try being normal, making like $50,000 a year. You know what I mean? It was,
and I'm not saying I think that's what happened, but I'm saying I could see a possibility where that whole story is made up to sell tons, like keep them both relevant. It
almost makes more sense. That almost makes more sense than her airing all her dirty laundry about her marriage on a public platform.
And staying with him. Like, it makes, if she left, then, like, that makes sense.
Maybe.
But, I don't know.
Yeah, but what about the suicides in the K-pop scene?
Oh, I mean, okay, that's a different hot take there.
I don't have a hot take.
Well, this is... My take is another reason why I appreciate K-pop is how would I put this? I appreciate a certain level of brutality.
Yeah.
and like I don't think anybody gets really good at something without a certain level of
tenacity.
Yeah, and to me, this is a thing where, like, there's always going to be this...
Like, they don't
balance.
have plus-size models in France. If you're a model in France, you look like a model, right?
Yeah.
Because you're, like, committed to that in a way that we don't really understand in this country currently. You know what I mean?
Well,
and so it's like that, I'm sure, in a very competitive social culture like that, for example, that, you know, they're grinding this stuff at, like, the highest level.
Yeah. And
so that's what makes it interesting, is because it's not like American pop music, because it's baked in with more labor.
Yeah, and there are these like trainees for labels that will work for years just to never debut, and like it's just like, see ya, you weren't good enough.
It's like training for the Olympics. You know what I mean? You could train for the Olympics for 4 years and then not qualify.
Yeah, like the suicide thing, like Like if you look at a group like now disbanded G-Friend, me and Little Uzi Vert were like the only people mourning the loss of G-Friend as a group, but they are one of the tightest, most synchronized groups, I think, as far as their dance numbers go. And then, like, how did they get to be that way? And you can find interviews where Una is crying, recollecting how when she got her wisdom teeth out, she thought she would get a day off. And it was like, no, get in there and practice. It's like, that's kind of how you get this good. And I think a lot of people think it's like, when you look at the top of any game, the people who get to the peak of performance are usually either the people who have been pushed, or much better than that is who push themselves to these limits. And I think a lot of people will not push themselves to those limits. So other people try to, like, I mean, that shouldn't be happening. And I think that is where the suicide, the whole unhealthy thing, is a proper culture of like working for the sake of working.
But also this is the other thing that is so challenging for Americans to understand too, is that other cultures have different perspectives on life and death and suicide and work-life balance and all of these different issues too. So to try to, maybe it's a shitty and colonialist of me to even ask the question that broadly, but it's part of a symptom of, like, here, pop artists, it's not as common for them to commit suicide because they can just cancel their tour dates and go to rehab.
Yeah, and I think it is getting better in K-pop. Like, you can see,
as you have more of a Western audience, you're going to have more of that Western influence. You're going to have people in the audience saying more and more, hey, we can't work these kids to death like this.
Yeah.
Right?
And later, we've had, like...
Who... Are there, like, mogul guys in Korea that are in charge of this stuff?
Yeah. And that's another thing, like there are several big companies, but one of the ones I am most loyal to listening, like taking in their content, is JYP Productions or JYP Entertainment.
Not a sponsor.
No, but
thank you for agreeing.
I stand twice.
Yeah.
No sauna, no life. But like, is looking at these companies, and JYP, his artists re-sign with him. Or even if they don't, they still continue working with him. And that is not the case with other companies.
Yeah, so you try to look out, like, who do the people on the inside, like, who's treating people nicely?
Yeah.
Who's, you know, if people only work with somebody one time and then never again, maybe that's a bad sign.
Yeah, like G-Friend was a group that
R.I.P.
disbanded. They may be back someday. Are you going to share?
What about Panic at the Disco? Do you think they broke up just so they could do a reunion tour?
Cool. 1 second.
Got that.
Okay, so Panic at Disco, first of all, one of the most incredible live performances I've ever seen.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, incredible. I don't know that they broke up for that reason, though, because I read some interviews with Brendan Urie, and I don't know. He's kind of I don't think I'd want to be in a band with him. Because, like, there's this interview that came out with him where people were celebrating this interview because he talked about, like, being bisexual. And it was, like, the, like, LGBT, you know, everybody was, like, clinging to this article of, like, look at this guy coming out. But then I read the article, and he talks about how his guitarist would get uncomfortable with him kissing him on stage, and then he seemed to continue to do it. And it's like, that's not cool behavior to like.
Well, it's also like
push yourself.
It's also like the Kevin Spacey
Like-
thing. It's like those are not equal. Like
Yeah.
your actual
It's-
sexuality has nothing to do with somebody else saying that a behavior of yours was offensive to them in some
Yeah.
way. You know what I mean?
It's-
They're not connected.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where everybody seemed to focus on like
'Cause it
that
would be-
part of like, cool, he's bi or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's like
Because it would even
the other things he's talking
it would
about
be
are not
more
really-
obviously salacious if it was a female presenting guitarist. Like people would be like, well, you can't just kiss people that have told you not to kiss them. That's crazy. Am I crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And I've done so little of that. I have kissed so few people that didn't want me to kiss them. It's not zero, but it's low. I've never been beaten over it, so I feel
That's
like
good.
I feel like I'm on the right side of history. I just need a C-, but it's a good lesson. Don't be out there
But, yeah.
kissing people, because then you won't have a band anymore. If you kiss them all when they don't want you to.
Yeah, so I don't really know, and I hope I'm remembering that interview right. That's one of those things that like
No, but that's always the
I get-
case. And you know what I mean? Because it's, representation is so important, but then we don't have a lot of perfect options
Yeah,
for representation
that's
of
true.
any group anywhere for any reason.
Yeah,
It's
and-
like we're not even trying to act like people are perfect anymore, which is fine.
Yeah. And then it's like you try to bring up like the people you think are the best examples and nobody's heard of them most of the time, seems.
Yeah, I have that problem that now people are people will tell me, no, I haven't watched season 5 of Supernatural because I'm watching some shit on Apple TV Plus or some shit I've never heard of.
Yeah. I won't do Apple TV.
See?
They take away my baseball games sometimes. They like
We should take a moment to address this. Patreon is doing a thing where they have to kick 30% back to Apple if you're subscribing to the Patreon via the Patreon app on your Apple device. So I'm going to eat that cost on behalf of my subscribers. However, if you want to avoid that problem altogether and get more of that money to me, go ahead and renew your subscription in a browser, on a website, on a computer maybe. And that way, Tim Cook and Satan doesn't get 30. What is 30% of $4?
I'm really bad at instant math. $1.20.
You think so?
No.
I'm not even going to try to do it. 4 divided by, what did I say? 3. $1.33.
Okay.
So if you want to make sure I get that $1.33 out of your $4 a month on the entry level tier to the Patreon, there's also a free tier, and then executive producer is coming soon. That's anything above $4, which executive producers are Doreen Priestley and Neil Wolf. Last I checked, R.I.P. To Apple, because we won't stand for this. And I'm sitting here with all my Apple devices open right now, and I'm going to figure something else out. You believe me.
Did you see Tim Cook wave the checkered flag at a F1 race?
Nope, I didn't see that. Are
It
you
was
into the
the
F1?
most pathetic flag waving you will ever see. Yeah, I am now.
What do you mean now?
I wasn't. I'm not a longtime fan, but for the last couple of years, I've been following.
Who are you following? Was there a specific driver that got you into it?
No, I mean, the Netflix series Drive to Survive got me.
Is that a reality series?
Yeah, sort of.
It's like a behind-the-scenes thing? It's
yeah.
not, dramatized?
Well, it is.
There is some
that's
drama.
the problem.
There is some drama.
I mean, it's not. It's one of those things where, everything really happened, but it's like they'll take a clip, show one thing, and then play a radio message over, and it's like that's not when that happened, and they make things very twisted. They twist things for their storylines.
Yeah, they make it more narrative, I'm sure.
Yeah, which is understandable, but I don't watch that anymore, but I kept watching F1.
You got into the
as a
racing
sport.
part because of that. Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
'cause
That's
it's-
probably the goal. They say, well, yeah, let's
Yeah.
contribute to the production of this dramatized version of what we do to bring people into the actual thing. That sounds like perfect conversion.
Yeah, and in a way, them like Netflix not explaining shit about how F1 works made me go to YouTube and like find somebody who will explain it, like what makes a legal overtake or not. And it's like, yeah, so I guess by starving me of information, they really did kind of help me to dig.
Is that a thing that operates in seasons, or is it kind of... So what time of year is F1 happening real big?
Well, we're just finishing up the summer break now, which is like a month-long break in the middle of the season. And I can't remember which race is next, but it's...
The Walking Dead used to do that.
Or is it next weekend?
Who are you rooting for?
In F1?
Yeah.
You don't know any of the people, do you?
Not one.
As a team, I like Williams, kind of. I'm hoping they're on a... I like James Fowles. I like Alex Albon. But
did you see my episode with my friend Bree? She does an MMA podcast, and so we had.
I saw clips from it. I meant to go back and.
People love the clips. It's great. It's great. I'm thinking maybe we should shoot the show in 9x16 from now on, and just put it. Eventually. Yeah, I've been meaning to do a live... Oh, fuck. I got a live stream this weekend so I don't lose my TikTok privileges. You got to follow the show on all these different platforms where you find these clips. They exist everywhere. If you just subscribe on all of those, I look like a fucking genius, so please.
Please.
Jeff knows where we are. We're at Jacob V Weekly on Instagram. Jacob V STL on YouTube. I finally got enough watch time to update my goddamn title of my shit. It was just my last name for a decade, which is dumb. We're on X. We're on motherfucking Facebook. So TikTok, of course. But yeah, Bree was here. We did a whole like 20-minute MMA segment. I just had to let her go. I just had to trust her. You could have made all those names of those racers up.
I should have. I missed my opportunity.
You missed an opportunity there. See, if you were more familiar with the inner workings of the show, you would understand that that was unnecessary. A level of accuracy and specificity that was unprecedented. Really. What did I want to show you? Can I tell you something?
Yes.
People are obsessed with RFK and this bear. Do you know about this?
I can't say I do.
Have you heard this? You don't know about RFK and this bear? You know who RFK is?
I thought I did.
Okay. You thought you did until he had a bear?
Yeah.
RFK. His thing is, he tells people too much shit. You remember Gary Johnson?
Yeah.
It's starting to remind me of that. I'm not watching Stephen Colbert right now. He dumped a dead bear in New York City's Central Park.
Taking a group of people falconing up in Goshen, New York, up Hudson Valley, and I was supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9.
Oh, great. Wait, so are you still a teacher? I've just...
No. I'm a librarian.
Sorry.
Oh, please. Did my iPad die? My iPad died. Well, so the story is RFK Jr. was taking some people falconing, which is already a red flag for me. And then apparently stumbled upon the carcass of a small bear that was struck by a driver. And then he took the bear and he was going to dress it, meaning he was going to carve out the
good parts?
Yeah, and then separate the hide and whatnot from the corpse. And but then apparently he ran out of time and he didn't want to leave it in his car and he had it with him in New York City. Somehow he made it all the way into the heart of New York City with a dead bear in his truck. And then he dumped it in Central Park. And then we only know this because he told us on video. I think his son is one of his in-house videographers, and it's kind of a problem because we get some leaks.
Wait, so he dumped it in a lake, though? Did I see something about a lake? Or
well, is there a lake in Central Park, or would you call that a pond?
Well, there's some fairly good size.
Is it a pond or a lake, Jeff?
But I'm just wondering,
Jeff,
how the bear decomposed, whether it was open air or
let's go back
in water.
Let's go back to the clip that crashed my iPad.
I mean, disposing of dead things is a difficult thing.
And up in Goshen, New York, up in the Hudson Valley, and I was supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9. I was driving up maybe, really early, like 7, and that woman in a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it, a young bear. So I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear, and it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear. And at the end of the dinner, it went late, and I realized I couldn't go home. I had to go to the airport. And the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car because that would have been bad. But I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park, and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike. It'll be funny for people. So everybody thought that's a great idea. So we went and did that, and we thought it would be amusing for whoever found it or something. The New Yorker somehow found out about it, and they're going to do a big article on me, and that's one of the articles. So they asked me, the fact checker said, it's going to be a bad story.
Okay, yeah.
So that's him trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
He thought it would be funny for who. That's how you know he's a Kennedy. He is so disconnected from the obligation of manual labor that he just thought it would be funny if he left a dead bear in the park with, I guess he was going to add a bicycle. Did you hear him say he was going to make it look like he got hit by a bike?
Something.
And it would be funny for whoever found it.
Yeah, it sounded like an understandable story until he started talking about what a great idea everybody thought this was.
Everybody agreed with me. Everybody said it was great. It's going to be so funny. We're going to get them. I wish I knew what year that was.
I feel like, am I weird for thinking that up until that part, that's understandable? Like, if a dead bear is hit and that's fine if you take the body
I would not have taken the body into the city to go to dinner.
No. But that was a mistake, he said. He realized he was trying to bring it home.
Yeah,
so
that
dumb. Is understandable.
Yeah, and maybe here's actually that is. I agree with you. The worst part of it for me is not even that he dumped it in the park. It's that he thought it would be funny.
Yeah, that it's funny.
I understand if you said, "Oh my God,
somebody else's
I have to go get on a plane. I can't leave this bear in the back of my van in New York when I'm on an airplane. I had to dump the body in Central Park. I feel awful or whatever." Like, that's one thing. But to think, to follow that, somebody should have stopped him and say, you don't have to add the part where you say, we thought it would be funny for the poor park worker that has to find this bear carcass that's now a day old and has traveled into the city from upstate New York in the Hudson Valley where he was falconing.
Yeah, and I would think the Hudson River is not going to get more nasty with a bear carcass.
I would have tossed it in the river. The fish in there would love bear this time of year.
Yeah, it would probably purify the water somehow.
Yeah, it would soak up some of the ribosomes.
But
is that the word I meant to use?
I am not sure. But that's a very different thing about not living in the suburbs or the city.
I just can't imagine.
It's sometimes you got to figure out where to dump this body.
Jeff, that would be like if you came here today with an animal in your trunk.
Yeah.
And then you realized you had to leave. Where would we take a bear? If you had a bear in your trunk right now,
the whole thing is poorly thought out.
And you got to go jump on a plane. Lucius, can we leave a bear in here?
Hell no.
You know who's
Tower Grove Park's right down the road, though.
You know who? They need to send RK deal with that goddamn Benjamin that kept getting out at the zoo. They had to send him somewhere else. He kept escaping from the zoo here. Ben, the sun bear. We covered this many moons ago.
Was that an intentional connection of sun bear and moon? You brought the duality of life into that sentence.
Absolutely.
It was beautiful.
Thank you for noticing. Usually it's pearls before swine around here. I mean, Christ, sometimes I get some, like, you know who hasn't been on the show in forever because he just won't make time for me is my baby brother.
Really? I love, he's maybe my favorite guest.
People love him on the show. People love him.
Well, it's like, I can just turn you guys on. It's like, I don't know, it brings me back to just hearing you two bitch like in some random living room.
We've been doing that his entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
hi, Clay.
He better be caught up on this show. That's the thing you realize, too. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes shows don't stay caught up with their interactions with their audience. But I'm so goddamn thirsty for attention. We don't have that problem. You know. Jeff, walk me through how you like to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh man, my mind was still so on like disposing of dead things.
That's called a hard break. So let me reset that for you, Jeff.
I had so much experience.
Jeff! Tell me, walk me through how you like to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Jeff.
Well, using my mother's grape jam jelly. No, it is jelly.
Which I've had.
I mean, you have?
Yeah, you brought it to something.
Huh.
Oh,
I don't recall.
Our bachelorette weekend in
is that
Table
it?
Rock. You brought jams,
jellies.
preserves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic, though. I spread it on one piece of bread and then the peanut butter on the other. I have no hot take on peanut butter and jelly.
So
that's
go
like the most
first piece of bread, thin layer of peanut butter. Second piece of bread, thin layer of peanut butter. First piece, all the jelly I'm expecting to need in an arrangement that feels conducive to not completely falling apart or clumping all in the middle.
So you go peanut butter on either side of the jam.
Because I developed this in school when I would get to lunch and I would notice people's jelly would be seeping through the bread by the time they got to lunch, even if it was maintained at an adequate temperature.
My mom did that for us because of that, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas you create a safe boundary of peanut butter, much like how you put a fresh burger patty, you're supposed to put like mayo or some other kind of fat on either side of the bun to keep the fat from soaking right into the bread like that.
You know, I recently elevated a PB&J with just a light toasting.
Yeah, my thing is I don't like the peanut butter to start to melt. So the real move, toast, let it cool. And then the process.
Yeah.
Because then you get all of the texture and flavor of the toast, the Maillard reaction that happens, and then, but then your peanut butter doesn't get runny. Did you know I had an answer for that? And then, you know what? I don't keep them at home because my wife's allergic, but if I could just thinly slice a little bit of banana.
Really? She's allergic to banana.
Oh, yeah. It makes
I'm mildly.
Yeah, she's got a latex intolerance. Yeah, she's got a food-based latex intolerance. She also doesn't really eat a lot of avocado.
I was just about to ask that because avocado is worse for me. That makes my throat scratchy and itchy for an hour.
Oh, that's not her reaction. That is funny, but you're probably allergic to the same component.
Yeah, it's not like I need an EpiPen or anything, but it's uncomfortable.
But you avoid it for that reason. Yeah, which is a bummer because if you want a vegan smoothie, those are both great avenues on your journey.
Well, and banana is mild enough a reaction that I just down a banana really fast and then I chase it with Fritos or something and it just kind of scrapes and absorbs whatever to the point where it's no longer a problem. Training my body to accept banana.
Yeah, I think that's what she said too, is that it would take some working up to for certain. Yeah, a little fresh banana on a PB&J. I also love any alternative preserve or jam. I'll even go strawberry, raspberry,
blackberry
a
is a good one, I
blackberry
think.
with the seeds in it, bitch. If you can get it, that's like when you get the Amish butter. It comes in the wax paper, and sometimes you can still, in the log of Amish butter, you can discern the old lady's handprint still in the butter because it's folded by hand.
My dog has dog treats that are like have these wads on them, and you can tell they're just like squeezed by some like Chinese.
What is your dog's name?
Buster.
Buster. How old is Buster?
Oh, Buster is very old now. He came as a stray, and he was like a year and a half-ish when we got him, and he's probably pushing 13, maybe 14 now.
Yeah, Lewis is 11.
Still healthy?
Yeah, for the most part. He's on an anti-itch medication now.
My dog needs Apoquel.
Yeah.
Get that Apoquel.
Is that what that is?
Are you on the reward system for Apoquel? Because it's a very expensive drug.
Is it really?
Yeah, Apoquel. it's like over $2 a pill.
A pill?
Yes.
Oh,
Birdie used to be on Apoquel.
I don't look at the receipts. It's my wife's dog.
Are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah. My old dog was on it, and it was like, when he needs it, I'd give him an Apoquel because.
Yeah, Birdie had an issue with like itching like in her ears, and like she would even scoot a lot actually. She would scoot down the hall and then make a left and continue scooting like a freaking drag racing her ass.
The old boot scoot boogie.
Yeah.
My God. And give me a sec. I'm conferring with the spirits.
Did you like the other day how ready I had my Bionicle end pedal? Ready.
I must have saved that because when you held that up, I'm like, where'd you get that? Because I've been looking at that. The real blessing here, is what are you looking forward to, Jeffrey?
Oh, that's a question right there. Because, like, I don't have an answer for that. And that's kind of been, like, an issue.
Yeah, this is exactly why I bring this up, because it is the hardest question to answer for a lot of my guests.
Because, like, as I mentioned earlier in the program, that like what exactly my life is weird in like, I mean, everybody's life is weird, but I would say I've taken some very different decisions than most, and so like part of the last like 4 years, going on 4 years now, is like partly a purposeful isolation, and then partly not purposeful and like bad mental health stuff.
Sure.
But like, and that's just kind of one of those things I've been working on for a long time, and I still don't have an answer. It's like, what am I looking forward to?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I always used to have, like, an event or like this summer or something, and it's like, I don't know. I haven't had that for a long time, and it's like a little worrying that it's just like I don't look forward to things anymore. But I just kind of accept.
But you do find some peace in some meaningful work you get to do every day.
Yeah, and it's like I don't look forward. Like, I look forward to the thing that I don't know is going to happen. Is like going for walks in the woods. It's like you never know quite what you're going to stumble into.
That's how you find most of your dogs, I think.
Yeah. They actually come up to the house pretty. They
find the house and they see the smoke on the horizon from the fireplace.
It's, like there's Buster.
Oh, that's a lucky boy. Oh,
I don't know how far that can zoom in.
My dogs are pudgy right now. I went with the larger kibble though. The larger pellets. I think that helps. I don't know. I attribute that to nothing.
Like, see this guy?
Oh my God, Bambi!
This is in my yard.
Are you hanging out with that thing?
Well, it left. I think. I hope. I like to think it left.
Yeah, moved on.
But for about a month or so, I've been like this little baby deer that seems to have been orphaned. It's like mother just never came back for it, and it started like wandering out around us and stuff. I never got close enough to like touch it or anything, but it's like I wasn't looking forward to that.
You'd probably
deer
be fine if you did. I watched my father pick up a goose by hand in Kirkwood Park.
No, I tried to get close. It was just never trusting enough. But it's like I wasn't looking forward to that interaction that I had with this little cute little fawn that, you know, ate my weeds and stuff. But it's like that happened. That was cool. I like that. But I just don't plan for things to like be good. I feel like whenever I plan for something and like look forward to it, it just disappoints me.
You're saying
I get wrecked.
You prefer the natural, spontaneous, unexpected, positive experiences that are woven through life because they can be positive, independent of, you know, the anticipation and the anxiety and the disappointment that's associated with something that's really planned out.
Yeah, like I was a part of your wedding party.
Right.
Can you smell your scent? I don't know.
The Versace?
It was Varvatos, John Varvatos. That during my isolated period, I missed at least 2 friends' weddings and did not really even explain why, because I'm an asshole like that kind of.
But also, you know, you're not living right down the street, and
well,
you know, and really weddings, having had one, the people that really need to be there are like the older people throughout your family. You want your friends to be there, but it's not make or break. Yeah,
and it's really hard. Like, I am bad with confrontation, conflict.
Yeah.
And I don't like to shit on things people are excited about.
Yeah.
And it's like, when is ever the right time to talk about, like, how, like, from the first I've been to, I think, 5 weddings, and 3 of them I was in really, really bad mental shape due to relationships, and like a wedding scenario is so bad for
if
that.
You're struggling with that stuff, it's not an ideal environment for it. Just feels like more exclusive.
Yeah, and especially if like a wedding may contain the person that I will not be in a room with ever again if I can help it.
Right. Yeah, it's like and that's the thing. In the case that it's challenging for somebody to be at something like that, the couple always understands. In that case, you know what I think you should try is not quantifying things so much.
What do you mean? Example?
I feel like you're and in some cases it's really great to be specific and precise. In other cases, though, you could be putting pressure on yourself to measure things with numbers.
Ooh, you think that's interesting?
I think I've been noticing you've been doing it for the past hour.
Yeah.
Is that you'll explain something in the frame of I cried more over this movie than I did collectively for a whole year. And I totally think that reinforces the explanation of how profound your emotional response was to that movie. But in other cases, just reflect on, and you don't have to have an answer for me, but are you putting pressure on yourself in your brain to put things in measurable number form? Because that's not always necessary, especially in your lifestyle.
I don't think, I would say I'm much more, to me, from the inside, the way I'm thinking about it, which is, of course, biased and, you know, messed up because you can't observe yourself too clearly a lot of times.
This is good for that, though.
To me, it's like, I don't think I'm quantifying in numbers. I think I'm more doing a relative.
Yeah.
Like
comparing it.
Like, I definitely comparisons, but I don't, because I like to think I'm very against
They say comparison is the thief of joy.
I think not comparing yourself to others and other things and other experiences is how you also lock yourself in a cycle of non-growth, though.
It's probably a spectrum.
I think, yeah. I think I can definitely, like, I don't know. And it depends on what you're comparing it to, because there's so many comparisons, like things normal people compare, like just don't mean shit to me.
Like what?
Well,
this is a safe environment.
For instance, like my grades in school.
Oh yeah.
Is like, that is a normal thing that people say they need to be here, and it's like, why? I don't. Why are you doing that to yourself?
Because it's like because
why are you following
that
the
conversation
person that
starts
tells
with
you to do it to yourself?
like an honest reflection on the statement, I didn't ask to be born. Right? You're telling me I have to come here, and that's fine. But the homework part is excruciating. And I think everyone's going to have a better time if we just don't do that part, right?
Homework
And then,
is
but that's not an option you were
bad.
given. Yeah. Well,
Well,
yeah.
and it's
And because the expectations are so high, but the supports, especially then, were not in place, even like they are now.
yeah, and to
And
me,
you're obviously an eloquent and literate guy. You know what I mean?
but that's the thing is, back in like middle school, high school, I wasn't. I mean, I would say I had that skill, but I didn't have the courage to use it in a lot of ways, and it becomes very complicated too when you're asked to explain yourself. And like, part of the reason I can talk today is because about those experiences is because of like the philosophy I've read in between then and now.
Sure.
But the teacher wanted me to explain things before I had, like, they weren't teaching me the language to explain myself.
To explain the things you needed to explain.
And
yeah.
And then they were taking up all my time, so I
Yeah,
couldn't
just-
like even search on my own because I'm so tired
Right, the
from not
workload.
sleeping and then being made like.
Oh, and
I
the
don't know,
pylon.
it's-
Oh, it's crazy because and we're just. I mean, you know, and that's just one class in that example.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, that I think I hate the
course
system.
load's crazy. Yeah.
The system of having like one teacher, like going from one teacher that is my entire day pretty much, and for somebody like me that very much struggled to make like trusting relationships with these people, and then it's like now you've got 8 people in an hour each day, and especially if those relationships turn negative, then it's like, yeah, that teacher asked me,
And then it becomes
you know, a little
self-perpetuating.
thing, and it's like, yeah, I feel like teachers might not realize that. I mean, they probably do to some, but it's like there are bad days where it's like 5 of my teachers wanted to talk to me that day about how I'm not measuring up. It's like some days are fine, but some are like, man, that was not coordinated, and it just literally destroyed my self-esteem. And
Yeah.
and it's like,
Well, it's overwhelming because you don't have the equipment to deal with all that pressure on your own.
well, and
And then it feels like a cadre of evil, a cabal of mischief.
And, you know, one of the things that I'm still like puzzled as to how to talk about it is within the school experience is like the different levels of classes that they provide and how to talk to people who were like, it started at Tillman, we had the REACH program, which was like a gifted students. I don't know what the language they use is now. But like talking to people who didn't get that class about the things we were given that were extra. And it's like they don't want to believe that, like, I don't know. It's like whenever intelligence comes into the picture, it's always, and like, it's more comfortable talking to you about this because I think you're an intelligent dude.
Yeah.
But it's like, it gets very uncomfortable when it's like, you know, somebody who I think maybe isn't. And it's like, because I don't know, that's the weird thing, like with grading to me is like, okay, if you put kids the dumb kids are like special ed. The regular kids, there's like this big regular kid class, and then there's like the gifted kid classes, advanced or whatever. And then you tell each of them that like an A means you're doing great. But the really dumb kids are like the ones who understand these other classes that are happening above them the least. And so like that is their class is like all that exists.
Yeah, it's a problem of transparency,
And then,
and they're assuming that if you are not doing something that you can't do it, or that or they're assuming that if you have a D in this class, it must be because you are intellectually challenged in some way, which is not necessarily like a inhibited maybe even, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and where this gets into like teacher interactions is I think it gets very weird when you test kids at the beginning of the year to like see their potential or like where they currently are. And I felt like I would test very well at the beginning of the year. And then that would lead my teachers to expect this high bar. And it's like all these kids who tested like total idiots, it's like they got the easier way through.
Because they were compliant.
And
they turned stuff in. Yeah.
And that I don't, like, talking about why I tested well at the beginning of the year is like, the prior 3 months, I was training either on my own or according to my household.
Yeah.
And then you take me and you put me in this other training program, and then I'm not doing as well.
Yeah.
But you don't want to look at like giving me more freedom to do what I was already doing when I was testing so well at the beginning of the year.
That's such an interesting perspective. I could talk to you for hours about that, but these
Getting
cameras
long.
are literally about to die. We're at an hour 20.
Right.
I'm at 7% battery. So let's call this to be continued.
All right. Before, one more thing. I just wanted to say to two people.
If you shoot me, it'll be so good for the ratings.
I don't use guns though.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm all
6%.
I may hit you with like a
Holy Ghost.
this.
Oh yeah, that'd be.
This Cam gave me this.
It's for the Metro
This
Link.
is for Cameron Lund.
That's for Cam Lund. When you're on the Metro Link, he can sharpen that for you.
I can sharpen it for me.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're into sharpening your own knives, 5%.
I just wanted to say to anybody who hasn't heard from me that I do love you and I'm sorry for complications.
That's what we're doing.
And
That's what we're doing this era, is that we're resurrecting love, and it's a circle or whatever Zob was saying.
yeah, but see, that's the thing is like reconnecting with people. It's like, hey, I'm not going back to some of this shit though. It's like, that wasn't me and you misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too. Some distance also makes the petty shit easier to move on from. And so I need you to take that into your own life. 4% battery. Jacob V. Weekly. My guest has been Jeff Holt, a dear friend of mine, a
Someday,
groomsman.
maybe I will have music someday.
We should work on some here, because I've been doing some stuff here and it's a lot of fun. Doorstop-Studio.Square.Site. Caddyshack. Come on over. JacobV.com. All the links are there. I love you.
Good night.
Ooh, I gotta piss my dick off.